Good evening and welcome to Lithgow City Council's council meeting for the 22nd of April 2024. Acknowledgement of country. Lithgow City Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri elders past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation, the original custodians on the land which Lithgow's communities reside. The council also extends our respects to our neighbouring nations. Declaration of webcasting. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast and that those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements concerning any person, councillor or employee, and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceedings as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. All councillors are present tonight. Any declarations of interest?
Sorry, mate. Item 10.1.1, request for fee reduction, use of Tony Lichetti Sports Ground, Lithgow Workies Wolves. I'm the president of the Lithgow Workies Wolves, so I will step out of the room while that decision's made.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any other declarations of interest this evening? Councillors, regarding the oath of affirmation of office, I'm sure you all know that very well by now. Confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting, please. Could I have somebody note that there'd be? Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Have a seconder, thank you. Councillor O'Connor, all those in favour say aye.
I have a question, if I may, in relation to the minutes, Mayor Statham, if I may.
Yes, certainly.
At the last meeting, it was resolved to advertise the naming for the Kramer Park Stadium. I've seen no advertisements, and I've been asked when will it be advertised for public comment.
I can answer that, Councillor Ring. It may become a little bit clearer when I give my announcements a little later on. Sorry, you'll realise what I'm going to say. There's been no choice at the moment. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Commemorations and announcement. On behalf of the Lithgow City Council, I express sincere sympathy and condolences to families who have lost loved ones since the last council meeting. I'm very, very sad tonight to say that many residents throughout New South Wales and especially the Portland area will be extremely saddened to hear of the death of Gary Taylor, better known as Snag Taylor. Snag Taylor would be one of the champions of our area without doubt, very popular man, and has fought the worst kind of dementia that you could possibly have. And we got quite a shock when I was given the news yesterday. Gary Taylor was also one of the people that got the Scouts into Portland. He also ran the swimming pool and taught swimming lessons, or had swimming lessons taught, I beg your pardon, for many years, and helped out with many other things in Portland. So he's going to be very missed by a lot of people. I'm just going to give a quick shout out to those people that think Ironfest is on. For those viewing at home that don't know, Ironfest is a spectacular event. It won't be as big as normal, but its home in Portland will be justifiably proud, I think, to have Ironfest in Portland. I think it's a wonderful idea, and we need to keep that going as Lithgow City Council has been one of the sponsors. There's no Merrill Minute tonight. I will answer the question. Jonathan, would you like to answer the question relating to the naming of the Kramer Park Grandstand after Snag Gary Taylor? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. That has been tasked to staff, and we're in the process of developing a Have Your Say portal for community submissions. It's been a very difficult time at the moment trying to get all of the operational plan documents together. So there has been some delay, and I apologise for that, but it is a priority and it'll go out very shortly.
No, thank you. It's just had a number of people ask about it, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe and Councillor Ring. Page 6, 9.9, Notice of Motion. Pardon? Sorry, what was that? I was told there's no public forum tonight. Is there anybody wishing to speak? No. Notice of motion. Councillor Leslie, cost-benefit analysis of the solar panels on Lithgow Council's administration building. Can I have a mover, thank you?
Yes.
Thank you,
Ms.
Councillor
Statham.
Leslie.
I'll move
I'll
that.
second it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring.
Actually, thank you, Councillor Ring. I intend to move this motion with an additional point. So just for Councillor, so I move that a cost-benefit analysis be carried out on the solar panel and battery system currently on the roof of the Lithgow City Council Administration Building. That's as printed in the business paper. And point 2, that a finance committee meeting be held to discuss this cost-benefit analysis report. This finance committee meeting to be held at a time that would allow recommendations, if any, to be presented to the May meeting of Lithgow City Council.
I'm happy to accept that.
Thank you, Councillor Ring.
Okay. Solar panels and associated batteries have now been in place on Lithgow Council's administration building for some years. A cost-benefit analysis has not been provided for councillors or the public to ascertain their effectiveness and economic benefit. Such an analysis would be helpful in determining whether further solar panel installations on other buildings such as depots, libraries, waste tip facilities or grandstands would be beneficial. For the record, I wrote that commentary. A report such as I've asked for in this notice of motion has also been asked for by me and promised on a number of occasions, but has never been provided. But I am surprised that these savings, if any, have not been supplied in this management comment. I can only assume that they are not known. But I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that the installation of this solar panel installation on this council roof has actually saved ratepayers' money. But let's face it, the management comment is very lackadaisical. We see in the management comment that the administration is developing a report for a committee meeting that is in June, a couple of months away. Remember, this council decided the operations committee meeting need only meet every second month. With luck, this might come back to council at the June meeting, but probably won't be here until the July meeting. And then we hit the caretaker period and nothing further can be done. But the management committee is wrong. In the first instance, this matter of solar panels on the roof of council buildings is a financial decision. It's not really an engineering problem. Decide the cost-benefit analysis first, then decide where to put them.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Councillor Ring.
I remember on the last council when this was discussed and the decision was made to put the solar panels on, I wasn't overly supportive of it because I didn't understand if there was going to actually be a cost benefit to the council and community. I still don't know if there has been. I don't know the cost of putting it in. I don't know what we've saved. Have we saved anything? What was the upfront cost? How long has it taken to pay it off? At what point do we need to replace solar panels? Don't know. So I think getting this report is long overdue. We should have had this on the last council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
When were the solar panels installed? Can I ask that question?
Yes, certainly. Mr. Edgecombe.
I'd need to take it on notice for the exact dates, but I think it was in the 21-22 financial year.
21, 22.
I'd need to double check that though.
So a good chance that it hasn't paid itself off yet, but it'd be interesting to see when it does pay itself off and how long we keep them for and whether it's beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Cole.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Statham. I'm pleased that Councillor Leslie has mentioned both solar panels and a battery system in his notice of motion. Quite frankly, solar panels without a battery system is only doing half a job, so I'm pleased about that. I can only speak from personal experience. I've invested in solar and battery for my own cottage, and I'm pleased that I did so. The economic benefit has definitely been worthwhile, so I'd be very much interested in how we can actually benefit our ratepayers in savings.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, council has to be very careful about putting too many solar panels on these roofs that's not maybe being engineered from. It could be a big job to get past engineering just to say they're safe to put up there. There's a lot of weight in them things and everything else, so I'd be very careful about going too far with them. Thank you.
Any other speakers, please? Councillor Marnie.
Agree with the comments from Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie. As far as looking at cost benefit, we need to make decisions based on the facts that we receive and the understanding of looking at the life cycle and the cost returns on it. Certainly could see benefits for user groups where power bills come down substantially, given our dependence currently on other forms of energy. I note that large percentage of Australian householders are moving towards solar and making that decision themselves. I'd hope that this council is always at the leadership of their community in looking at opportunities to move towards renewables, and I don't have a problem in saying that word. And I myself will be installing a solar system to run my power needs. So I see there's a cost benefit personally. I'd like to see our council explore the cost benefits across a range of our buildings and see if we can impact on particularly those higher energy user groups in our community that pay significant fees for that use of it.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any other speakers? Councillor McGee.
Yes, rush for a report. You know, Councillor Leslie is always cautioning us against such haste in these matters. Now, I think that if they've barely been up there for 2 years, then 2 years is a very reasonable amount of time to wait, especially with the cost of the batteries primarily, to get an assessment and a logical assessment of any kind of accuracy. You'd need a minimum of 2 years for anything to be able to understand. So I think that the report coming to the Operations Committee in June is more than reasonable. I'm happy to roll with the management comment, and I don't see the rush and the urgency when it is such a short time period. And the battery especially, that price is a very large chunk of this, so it's not going to look good unless they're given a couple of years for those solar cells to pay for the batteries and to get on top of that. So I'm quite happy to wait until the June Operations Committee meeting for that report.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Right of reply, Councillor Leslie.
Yes, thank you, Statham. I accept that Councillor O'Connor is right. We do need engineering details. We do know that the roof of the library is insufficient to take this weight. How disappointing that is. But I'm not saying that and the management comment here is independent of this notice of motion. This management comment has stated that the administration is currently developing a report to an upcoming council meeting on this matter. A draft report will be provided at the next Operations Committee meeting, June 24, for review and discussion. So that's independent. That's going to happen anyway. I didn't know that, of course, when I put my notice of motion in. But what I'm asking for is not the engineering details. They're useful, of course, and they need to be done, and apparently they will get done. What I'm wanting is the financial details. the details that need to be discussed at a finance committee meeting, details that give an idea of how you can pay for these things. In my view, solar panels are actually free. Free because you can take a loan knowing full well that and any savings can be taken to pay off the loan, and it doesn't matter how long the loan is, that those savings are paid for. And then at the end of the loan, when the loan's paid off and the solar panels are still there, it's all cop. It just works right through for it. So we need to get that information first before we have to proceed on other engineering details. But those engineering details will come. We've been promised. Here it is in the management report. So I think let's do it in the correct order. Solar panels on my own roof have saved me a lot of money. I estimate that they've been up now for 6 years. I estimate that this year or next year they would have paid themselves off. I don't take the solar panels off the roof then. I leave them there. I leave them working away for me. But we do need to move quickly. Rush, if you like. But we do need to move quickly because shortly after June, that is, we will go into caretaker mode and decisions are no longer made. The sun keeps shining, but we're not using it.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Carried, thank you. 9.2, notice of motion, Councillor Ring, Lithgow Hospital staffing levels.
So I'd like a division on that motion, thank you.
Certainly, Councillor Leslie. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Coleman, Ring, Leslie and Marnie. Against, Councillor McGee, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Bryce and Councillor Statham. Have a mover, please, Councillor Ring.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to move. Thank you. Most meetings I reiterate my views on the management comment and the fact that it's not in our code of meeting practice, but tonight we'll cut to the chase. It's not really the management's role to seek information or act on a notice of motion before it's debated in this chamber. It's the role of the councillors to debate the merit of the proposal and either support or reject it. If supported, it is then the role of the administration to implement the resolution. This matter should be a concern to all councillors. I acknowledge that health, like so many other industries, is having difficulty attracting staff. However, my concern is for our community and the hospital staff that live here. I do not wish to see staffing issues be used to further downgrade services provided by our hospital. Our hospital needs to be more than a triage service to send patients to Nepean Hospital. It needs to provide a high level of service. And we need to see what is going on at the hospital and why on the night before Easter we have no doctors on charge, on standby or working in emergency. A night where you would expect to see a lot of traffic on our highways. I'd expect to see someone there.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
Yeah, it is a bit of a concern when there's no doctor in emergency. These are JMOs, they come straight out of uni and they get appointed to the hospital. Has Lithgow not been allocated any junior medical officers, trainee doctors or whatever they call them? The other issue is also nursing. I know that the nurses at the moment are in dispute with the government for a 15% pay rise and a change to staffing ratios to improve. This needs all to be addressed by the health area as well. Obviously the health area should have been allocating doctors to Lithgow. JMOs straight out of uni, first year out.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Any other speakers? Right of reply, Councillor Ring.
Please put it there, Stephen.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Notice of motion, Councillor Ring, Bathurst Bullet Train. Councillor Ring, you're happy to move that?
Yes, Mayor Statham.
Have a seconder, thank you.
I'll second this.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Ring.
This is our meeting. And although Lithgow Community Project are allegedly undertaking a study, doesn't mean that that study will be adopted by this governing body. There's no information on this group's webpage, and the last post on their Facebook was dated April 16, 2021. I spoke to one of the members the other day and it's still limited to 4 people. At this point in time, there are actions by the Orange community and their local member to have the Bathurst Bullet start at Orange. This would adversely impact train drivers living out in the community and result in our residents being disadvantaged. The success of this train has meant that it's hard to get a seat on it once it gets to Lithgow. If it's coming from Orange, you've got no hope. It's imperative that we advise the current government we do not support this proposal. Any additional policies that may be developed and adopted by this council down the track can be conveyed to the government in the future. What we need to do tonight is send a clear message to the government. Why? Because we're situated in the fourth safest coalition seat in New South Wales. Orange is independent. We need to start the fight for our community now rather than seeing it pushed off to appease an independent for political reasons.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Mayor Statham. I support all rail and train services from Lithgow to Sydney, whether they're coming from Orange or whether they're coming from Bathurst, but we need to ensure that our residents are taken care of when it comes to rail services. I'd also like to lobby the government for an hourly train service from Lithgow to Sydney. I mean, that would be absolutely crucial for our residents. A lot of our residents are travelling the train to go to work in Sydney. So yes, we need to ensure that we keep what we've got and improve on what we've had and what we're going to have.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Ms. Nathan, can I make an amendment to possibly defer this until the next meeting? My reasons for that, if I can get a seconder.
I'll second it.
That we have an actual briefing on the 6th of May on this topic, and that after speaking with admin, that the information that we receive from that briefing, we then develop a policy or a position on the rail issues, and we can then bring that back to the council meeting in the May meeting once we know all the information. I don't think we know all the information.
Right, Councillor Bryce.
Yeah, I would like to know more information. Like, if we are extending it from Orange, is there going to be more carriages? We don't know. We don't know anything about this except there has been a push to start the Bathurst Bullet at Orange. So more information, the better for us to make a decision.
Councillor O'Connor.
Yep. What I'd like to see, if we do make a submission to the government, that we reverse the XPT, started off at Dubbo or Orange in the morning and go to Sydney and then come back in the evening. At the moment, it's exactly the opposite. It comes up here at 9 or half 9 in the morning, which is, if you've got a job here, it's no use. And it goes back again in the evening at 6 or 7. So I would like to see it start up there if we were going to put any submission in, and it'll fast train from here to Sydney, from Dubbo, Orange, Bathurst, Lithgow, and then straight down. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Anyone else wish? Councillor McGee.
Yes, I'd probably speak against the amendment at this stage, in that if we have an information session lined up for this, then that will only help. But I think that if there is any kind of urgency in this situation, then we should address it immediately and keep addressing it. It's a valuable service, a good service that Paul Toole started and has been a very successful service. To lose it or have it inhibited in any way would be unacceptable. So I support Councillor Ring's initial motion.
Yeah, I'd like to speak against the two of them, Mayor Statham. From a purely political standpoint, we need to stand up for our community now, not wait for another month, not wait for another. If we get a briefing and there's more information, we can follow up with another letter. There's no reason we can't. But our community has to come first. A letter, very simple, we do not support this to the government. We're on record of not supporting it in its current form. Because let's be honest, if they've got to do deals to get a vote, you've got an independent sitting there, we get sold down the river. That's political reality. We need to ensure that we get a letter off. Let's have a briefing. Let's get a more detailed decision, but let's get something off now and hit the ground running.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Marnie?
Again, I concur with what Councillor Ring has said and pick up on some of the comments from other councillors. If we're not adding additional capacity, there will be limited capacity for Lithgow people to utilise this service. I've used it only once or twice and it's pretty popular. So I think the initial advocacy that comes from our council is to hold the service as it stands. If there's compelling evidence such as the addition of additional carriages and capacity for the orange passengers, if that in fact can operate with that type of rail car, I'm happy to look at that once we have the May briefing. But with the current service as it stands, I'm supportive of the original motion.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Goodwin.
Mayor State, I just think that the more information we get on making a decision now will ensure that we make the right decision for the whole community after the briefing, because I'd rather hear from both sides before I make a decision.
All right, thank you, Councillor Goodwin. I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Leslie and Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor. Thank you. For the motion,
Hang on. So are you putting the amendment? Has
I
it
put
been?
the amendment.
Has it lost or is it carried?
No, it's
Lost.
hands up those who are going to vote for Councillor Goodwin's amendment. Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Bryce, Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Leslie. Against? And I'll go against. So that's the amendment has been lost, and we go now back to the motion. Right of reply for the motion, Councillor Ring.
No, let's just put it, Mayor
Yeah,
Stephen.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the motion? I'll do a division then. Councillor McGee, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Ring and Councillor Coleman. Carried, thank you.
Against.
Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Leslie. Notice of motion, Councillor Eric Marnie, application of... The motion was what? The motion was carried. Yeah, the motion was carried. Councillor Marnie, application of policy 8.1, excessive water usage allowance for breakages, property location, Amiens Street, Littleton. Councillor Marnie.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Ring.
Thank you, Mayor Stapleton. Sure, okay. If I could characterise not just this council but the previous councillors' manner in dealing with excessive water usage that sits outside the property owner's control has always been one of a fair approach. Or I can remember Mayor Ray Thompson dealing with a number of matters. I can remember other matters coming in front of this council where clearly the property owner wasn't at fault. We did review our policy relating to this to better outline how the policy operates, and the introduction of smart meters has been a significant development for how we manage water leakages. I know numerous people, and I'm including myself, have been notified by council when I've had a pipe break or an issue happen early in the piece to advise them of an unknown water leakage. The documentation I've seen from the landholder clearly demonstrates a spike in water usage, clearly outside any normal domestic use. Now, the resident did then proceed to investigate where the point of damage. This occurred on a Sunday because he was losing significant amounts of water. The resident's not coming back to us asking for funding for the work they did on the Sunday. And the damage occurred underneath the council footpath. And when I visited the property, the actual water meter sat at least 5 metres outside the property boundary. So what we have is the situation twofold in my mind around what I believe to be a fair decision is that firstly that the rebate should be applied, and I understand that that is going to happen. So, and I appreciate staff and also the initial communications with staff. I'll also note that there was a great deal of satisfaction from the landholder in the way the staff member dealt with the issue in the first communication. I think where we need to work is towards keeping residents informed of the progress as it starts to unfold. The second part of in my mind, the fairness test is the fact that the meter sits well outside the person's property. For some reason, heavy vehicles do leave that road and find themselves on the median strip. The damage to the telco pit was significant, and that was clearly done by a vehicle. What happens now is we have a water meter that sits outside the person's boundary or not in close proximity to the boundary, which is outside their circle of control to control the risk. I personally believe that we need to consider whether that's a fair situation and that the meter should be put behind all of our assets, and that way it's within the circle of the control of the landholder to manage and protect that meter rather than sitting well inside a public landscape. So I ask that the council consider the second part of it, to have the meter relocated at council's cost to the property boundary. My understanding of the management comments was that whilst the resident was away on leave one time, the meter was installed in a position in the middle of the yard where they felt it was unsuitable. All other meters were placed along the fence line in that northern section of Army Street. So what I'm asking is that we use this opportunity to resolve a situation which I don't believe is fair to the resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Ring.
Question, through you, Mayor Statham, to the administration. The excessive water use allowance for breakages 3.3, or section 3.3, is based on the difference between the average consumption and the water amount count for the period of the breakage. A 50% rebate will be applied to the account up to a maximum of $2,500. In this particular instance, the break, I believe, isn't the responsibility of the owner. It was under a council footpath or council, where it was under council assets, it couldn't be seen. I don't believe that the resident should be out of pocket for any of the excess water from the breakage. But if the resident's happy with the rebate, then that's fine.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
So I talked to Mr. Bulkley before coming into the meeting. I understand he got the rebate on the 10th of April, but the fact that vehicles are able to drive over this meter and cause damage to it is not fair. I don't think that's, and it is on council land, and we obviously can't stop these vehicles. I think it does need to be moved back onto the boundary fence to make it fair. And because if we don't do something about it, people are going to keep driving over the top of it. They're going to keep, and it's going to be more rebates constantly. This way we'll just get the rebate done out of the way, get it fixed, and then the issue will go away.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. And Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, through the mayor, could I ask Mr. Trapp where the water main is situated in front of this building?
Mr. Trapp, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Statham, I believe in this area it is in the roadway, so it steps up through the footpath and then connects into the properties from there. But I believe through that Amy Street area, it is sitting in the road outside of the footpath and the major strip, I should say.
Thank you, Mr. Trapp.
If it's in the road, it should be easy to turn the water off at his present meter, go inside, cut the main, go into his house, and drop a. It's not as if the road has to be dug up by the sounds of it. So it could be, it's only a cheap exercise to do it, and that's the end of it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Money.
Just to follow up on Councillor O'Connor's commentary there, just for clarity, and I think Mr. Trapp's tried to express that, it's situated in the grass nature strip. So your suggestion, I think, is very good. It's just a matter of, I'll say in layman terms, and I'll be corrected, but certainly the metre sits in the turfed area. It needs to be moved across to the other side of the concrete without either cutting the concrete or cutting any asphalt of the road. So it's, in my belief, a relatively simple operation. I thank the councillors for the consideration.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. Administration reports, caring for our community. Page 11. Can I have somebody
Mayor
move
Statham,
this?
Yeah.
I'll leave
I'm happy to move.
I'll leave the room before this commences. Just out of
Yes,
the...
thank
I'll
you, Councillor
second.
Marnie. So moved by Councillor
I'll
Coleman,
second.
seconded by Councillor Bryce. Yeah. Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Statham. I'm happy to move the recommendation that is on the papers. And I refer to the report. Reducing the lighting fee from $73.50 to $50 per hour may assist the club in their 2024 season. I'm also pleased that the council will also look at the 2024-25 fees and charge to consider any changes that may assist the club. Quite frankly, if we don't support community sport, we won't have community sport. And then we have an asset that lays dormant. We still need to attend to that asset. So that's why I'm supporting this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Bryce?
I support the recommendation, as Councillor Coleman pointed out. Our sport is dying, and it's dying out in the Central West. If we don't start supporting and reducing some of these fees, we are going to lose the sport. It is bad enough that we are losing junior sports without the sports vouchers being available anymore, and the cost of living pressures on families. So anything that we can do to help any sporting facility, any sporting club, would be, I think, great for our community.
Mayor Stephen, I'd like to move a minor...
Thank you, Councillor Bryce.
Sorry, apologies. I'd like to move a minor amendment, or if the mover and seconder if they'd like to accept it. The minor amendment is to ensure that the recommendations are consistent with the report and council resolution minute number 23206, which is referenced in the report. Simply all I'm asking is point 3, is that after subject to consultation with the sporting community through the Sports Advisory Committee and the Finance Committee meeting, and the Finance Committee. That is what the resolution referenced in the report states. I think this needs to go back because what we have here is an issue concerning capacity to pay. And sporting clubs, as were briefed in the information sessions, this is an annual thing where sporting bodies come back saying, we can't afford. And I think we need to look at how we address this, and I agree, but this is a financial issue, not just a sporting issue. And it needs to come to the Finance Committee, as per the recommendation and the report in this.
Councillor Coleman,
It
do you
does,
accept that?
in fairness, it does actually say on the bottom of the report, it is proposed to bring the request report to the 18th June 2024 Finance Committee meeting. However, that isn't in the recommendation, so I see Councillor Ring's point. So, yeah, I don't have any problems with that, considering it's already been referenced anyway.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Bright, you happy? I'll just finish off. It's nice to see that we've reduced the fee for the lights, but what is the actual cost of providing the service? I mean, it seems quite a significant decrease from roughly $75 to $50. So what is the actual cost? I mean, as a council, we need, and I agree with Councillor Bryce about supporting our sporting bodies, we need to have a better understanding of what level of support and subsidisation we are prepared as a council to provide them. We need to understand their cost and their challenges.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any other speakers, please? Right of reply, Councillor Coleman.
Sorry, Mr.
Sorry,
Can
Councillor
I
Goodwin.
just ask, why can't this be voted on tonight and we do that as a matter of course for the oncoming years, rather than just kick the tin down the road again for...
Councillor Coleman, would you accept that point, please?
Yeah, actually, Councillor Goodwin does actually have a point. So I'd like to go back to the original recommendation. So Councillor Ring will have to put that up as an amendment. I'm sorry.
I'll put it up as an amendment. Because it's talking about, if someone's prepared to, because it's talking about taking to the sports committee, so it won't be decided tonight. That's what the recommendation's saying.
Thank you. Councillor Goodwin.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie.
And as just speaking to it, process is important with these things. We shouldn't be deciding these things at a council meeting without having proper financial detail at a finance meeting. I think that's important. It's the football season will be here this year. We'll be here next year. Here the year after. Let's get it right.
If I may, can I ask a question?
The General Manager would just like to speak.
I'm just looking for some clarification because I think Councillor Goodwin proposed that a decision to reduce fees be tonight approved for next year's fees also. That was the tenor of your amendment, wasn't it?
The tenor of
So
my
whatever
amendment.
decision we take tonight to reduce that we got, no, I'm speaking. Do you want me to keep going?
He didn't put up an amendment. He's made a suggestion, and we are voting on the fees tonight.
Sorry, just
Point
repeat
one.
that, Councillor Ring.
Point 1 is talking about reducing the lighting. We're already doing that. And then consider a reduction. We're already considering and agreeing to the reduction. But we're looking at a proper study and assessment of the fees and charges. Moving forward, I don't want to have to come back here every year, if I'm not re-elected or councillors, to have these bodies coming back to us saying we need a reduction. We need to have a better process in place. And we need to get a proper report and assessment and discussion with the sporting bodies on what their services and costs are. If they have less people coming to the grounds, they're getting less revenue, it doesn't mean their operating costs are going down.
Mayor Statham. I'm going to go back to the original recommendation. I've moved that. Councillor Ring's already moved an amendment, so I will leave it at that.
So, because now there's an amendment.
No. So Councillor Ring's moved his amendment, but I'm going to stick with the original recommendation.
Councillor Ring only moved his amendment on the basis of you both supporting it. Are you supporting his
No,
amendment?
I'm staying with the recommendation on the
You're not
paper.
accepting, so he needs a second amendment.
Which Councillor Leslie's already done.
Which is...
And if I could, Mayor Stephen, for you to the General Manager, ask a question. On page 12 of 73, it states at the 27th November 2023 meeting, Council resolved Min number 23206 that a report be brought to both the Sports Advisory Committee and the Finance Committee, which includes a detailed review of fees and charges associated with the utilisation of council-owned fields and facilities by community-based sporting organisations. I'm only asking for consistency with this. Or do we rescind this motion?
Could you please repeat the question, Councillor Ring?
We have a council resolution that talks about bringing a report back to the finance and sporting committees to look at the fees and charges for utilisation of all our sporting fields. So it's got to come back, a study's got to come back. All I'm asking is this one, which is obviously an interim measure, is likewise brought back to the Finance Committee. I'm only changing a very small portion of point 3, which is to bring it back to the Finance Committee, consistent with this already extant resolution. Do we need to put a rescission motion on it?
Councillor Coleman, will you accept that?
Yes, now that I understand what councillor Ring is trying to achieve, yes, I will accept that. There's no change to point 1, there's no change to point 2, it's just a slight change to point 3. Now I understand what pathway he's trying to take. Yes, I accept that.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any other speakers? Thank you.
Just point of order, can we just get it up?
Councillor Leslie, do you accept that as well?
Point of order, can I just get it up on the screen so we know what we're looking at?
Is it on the screen there, Councillor Bryce?
Oh, so it is that one?
It is, yeah. Second line with the...
So we're not kicking the fees down the road?
No.
Okay, so at this moment you're accepting that, Councillor Coleman, as we've stated.
Yes, Mayor Statham.
Councillor Bryce, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm
Right.
okay.
Any other speakers? So Councillor Ring, you've withdrawn your amendment.
No, well, look, if the mover has accepted it, then yes,
Yes,
I'm happy
right,
to
thank
move it
you.
and I'll have it left
Thank
as
you.
it is.
Any other speakers? Thank you. Right of reply, Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Mayor Statham. We got there in the end. Now I understand very clearly that the can isn't being kicked down the road. The fees will be reduced tonight in point 1, point 2. Councillor Ring does have a point. If it's going to come to the Sports Advisory Committee, it needs to come to the Finance Committee. And as Councillor Leslie said, process is important.
Right. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. (10.1.2) First Nations representative on Lithgow City Council.
I'll move this. I'll move it.
Councillor Bryce.
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Bryce.
It's good to see this has finally come to council. That and I go with the recommendation. I'm happy with the people that have been selected, and where they sit within our committees. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Goodwin.
No, I don't need to say anything.
Anybody else wishing to speak? If there's no dissent, I'll put the motion.
Just briefly.
Councillor Marnie.
Look, just wanted to acknowledge the council staff who worked to resolve this one, and I certainly think it adds value and new dimensions to those committees involved. So, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. (10.2) Developing our built environment. 16 to 26 Main Street, a DA of A038-24, change of use to beauty salon. Could I have somebody move that?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce.
Happy the second.
I think Councillor Marnie was in before you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
It's just a little bit confusing. 16 to 26 Main Street. I try to look at where that position was, but apart from that, happy for it to go ahead.
Councillor Marnie.
Happy to support the motion, even though I may be well past the use of this service.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Mayor Statham. Look, it's great that my understanding this is a council-owned building. Is that correct? Yeah, it's being utilised. That's fantastic. I do have 2 questions that could need to be answered, if I could, please. I understand that Service Australia is leaving the council-owned building next door, and do we know? Is there any plans for that specific building? Do we have any detail on that?
That's not related to this issue, Councillor Coleman. To speak tonight, Councillor
Yep.
O'Connor.
It's great to see a shop being taken up on Main Street, so very happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Leslie?
Yes, Mayor South, I'd like to foreshadow a motion if I could. It's arising from this, but it's not. I couldn't move it as an amendment to this. And the foreshadowed motion would be that we ask the council to prepare a report to bring down a policy so that future decisions like this, because this can't be the only time that a council-owned property would need to be changed in a change of use in this manner. But reading the room here, I can't see that there's going to be much opposition to this, and I can't really see that for future change of use issues would be a matter. So I think if we can just get a policy on the matter and resolve it, for future as well. But that's a foreshadowed motion.
Anybody else wishing to speak? So, Councillor Leslie, it's up to you now. Are you going to speak?
I'd rather this motion be put first.
Well, I think the policy is another direction from what we're here tonight to speak to. We're here tonight to vote on 10.2, and the recommendation has got nothing to do with the policy. I would suggest that you bring in a policy at the next meeting. I agree with that. So we're voting now on...
If I could, Mayor Statham, to my understanding, the council is required to bring their own developments to council for approval. This is a council-owned property. We are required to approve it. Yes, it is a slow and cumbersome process, but I do not believe there's any way around it. We are required as a council to make those decisions when it comes here, be it our own proposals or proposals of people on our property. So I believe there are already policies and legislation which cover it. They may not be adequate in a commercial sense, but we're tied by those existing policies and legislation.
The people listening at home, you'll say it now again, please repeat that clearly.
There is existing legislation and policy which requires council to publicly determine their own development applications or development applications for their properties. This has to come to open council. That is my understanding.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. If there's right of reply, Councillor Bryce.
I thought this would be a very simple motion to get through. We're just voting on accepting the changes to the business in Shop 22 between 16 and 26 Main Street. Thank
you, Councillor Bryce. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Statham. I have moved a subsequent motion on this matter. You could rule it out of order, but it needs to be at least put forward because it was.
Just go back, please. We need a division, please, on the previous item. So all those in favour? It is unanimous. Thank you. So we're on to 10.2.2.
Madam Mayor, I did move a foreshadowed motion.
Yes, you did.
Which I'd like to do now. That so that this, indeed, Councillor Ring might be right. I don't know. I haven't.
I'll get some clarification of that.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
The General Manager.
A foreshadowed motion is only able to be considered if the original motion is lost or withdrawn. So a foreshadowed motion can't be tacked on and then open up a debate on another matter. So a foreshadowed motion needs to be attached to the original motion. So Councillor Leslie, your point would be more properly addressed either by way of a notice of motion or a matter of great urgency. That'd be the proper course.
Thank you, Mayor Statham, for the General Manager's comments. It's clearly not a matter of urgency, no matter how wild those notices of urgency might be. I have no intention of moving it as a notice of motion, but if the council administration at some time in the future decides this is a matter that may come up again, I would think it would be a good idea. But
10.2.2.
Move it.
I haven't read it
Oh.
out yet. Councillor Ring, thank you.
Apologies.
P&P 26th of 4th 2024 DA 013-24 George Coates Street, Lithgow, Tony Lucchetti Sports Centre, shed auxiliary to Lithgow swimming pool.
Move it.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Thank you, Councillor Bryce.
This
Councillor
is,
Ring.
this is a fairly straightforward application. I did have a number of questions that I sent through to Mr. Elwood, which he answered. One of my concerns was the visual impact of this shed in its location. I have been given written advice that council will be looking at tree plantings, possibly a mural, to lessen the effects. I'm more than satisfied with that. I don't think that the conditions need to be amended to reflect that. I think council staff will honour that commitment. So I think it's good, it's needed.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
I concur with Councillor Ring. It is needed, so nothing else to add.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Any other person wishing to speak? No dissent. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Draft Lithgow local infrastructure.
Point of order, are you calling for a division, Mayor Statham, on that last item? It is a DA
Have a division,
or?
thank you. It was unanimous. So there's Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ring, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Marnie, Councillor McGee, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Bryson, Goodwin and Statham. Thank you. Draft local infrastructure contribution plan. Could I have somebody move this report? Thank you.
I'll move it.
Thank you,
I'll
Councillor.
second.
Councillor Goodwin? Yes, seconded. Councillor Ring?
I still have concerns with this on the impact on first home buyers, and I did raise that, which caused the delay. However, there are other options to pursue in providing support, and I've had some preliminary discussions with Mr. Elwood. I'll pursue some items further down the path. I do have some concerns with the document, but we've got some significant work that needs to be done. I'm also concerned about the Lithgow-centric nature of the funding, that it's all basically Lithgow, although this is only for 12 months, and the plan that will come to the next council will look at a longer-term vision, and there'll be a potential opportunity for the next council to modify this document accordingly. I don't think we should wait, we should just get it going.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah, Mayor Statham, this has been reported to council before. It's been taken to 2 briefing sessions with the council. The plan needs to be placed on exhibition. So $600,000 worth of works can occur next year. So I'm happy for the plan to go out for exhibition. Be good for our LGA.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Statham. Look, I'm really pleased with this report. I'm pleased to see that in this report that it mentions accessibility ramp and enhancement program. I remember seeing a copy of an operations committee meeting from the 2nd of October discussing Lithgow urban footpath disability compliance. And I remember putting up a notice of motion back in 2016. It actually was one of my first notice of motions in regards to footpath disability access across the local government area. Improving the lives of people with a disability should be an absolute priority. I've previously asked about this on numerous occasions. Persistence really brings reward, and I want to thank the staff for that.
Any other speakers? Councillor Bryce?
What excites me about this is the toilets at Queen Elizabeth Park at the children's section, at the playground area. This is something that the community have requested on, through councillors on numerous occasions over numerous years, and it's good to see that it's on the actual plan at the moment, at this point, and I know this is a big thing for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Martin?
I'm not trying to get too much in the pattern of this, but I do again concur with Councillor Ring. I think in the principles of fairness, we need to make sure our programs are meeting both our small population centres and our villages as part of the consideration, particularly if development's occurring in those localities. There are lots of very worthy and notable projects in this, so I do support it going through, and have a particular interest in the town tree planting project, stage 1, strategy and priority planting. I'm looking forward to a considered approach to our tree planting landscape, and as people visit Orange and Mount Wilson and Bathurst at the moment, they come back with tales of how well those places look under the autumn leaves. I think it's important that we have a plan for the future. Tree planting today is not for us, it's for future generations, and I think we need to have the imagination of those Victorian, not as in state-wise, as in era gardeners who planted out some of the parks in Bathurst, and also the early gardeners in Queen Elizabeth and Hoskins Church, which have left behind significant horticultural legacies for those people. So I'm very happy to support the projects that are here.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Leslie.
Thank you, Ms. Statham. Yes, as Councillor Bryce did, I'd like to comment on the Queen Elizabeth Park District upgrade of the southern toilet block, single unisex ex-eluder service children's playground and passive recreation area. But the reason I raise it again is I want to make sure that the typo there that has it as $22,000 is actually correctly stated as $220,000. There is a zero missing in that report, so if that could be corrected, just to make sure these things don't get misunderstood.
Any other speakers? Thank you. Right of reply, Councillor Ring. Thank you.
Just to follow on from some of the comments made by Councillor Marnie, it is up to the councillors to determine where the funds from Section 712 go. The funds raised under Section 712 do not necessarily go in the areas where the development occurs, unlike 711. So the councillors need to ensure that there is equity in the application of those funds across our community, and that the community is getting equity in the funding that is available. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. There's a division on this. Thank you. Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ring, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Marnie, Councillor McGee, O'Connor, Goodwin, Bryce and Statham. Thank you. Page 26, item 10.2.4, tender evaluation, replacement of the Red Hill Road Bridge Upper Turon. Could I have a mover? Thank you.
Move that, thanks.
I'll second.
Councillor O'Connor? Yes.
Yes.
Councillor O'Connor?
Yes, I'm very happy to see the person that got it, the company that got it, whom I know for many years, very reputable company. And the best I can see here is that there were 6 or 8 tenderers, which I'd love to see every contract go out to public tender, not selected. I'd like to see this happen right across the board, because as you can see, when you get more tenderers, you get a better price and better quality, I think.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Bryce? Anybody else wishing to speak? If there's no dissent, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Page 33, 10.26, installation of NRMA fast chargers.
Point of order, 2.5 first, Ms. Stephen.
Pardon? Oh, right. Apologise for that. Jumping the gun. Okay, 10.2.5, Lithgow Store Construction Project, contract variation. Can I have a mover? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Who moved that? Oh, and Councillor Brown. Right, Councillor O'Connor.
Yep, I can see that from looking at this, that it's going to be a bit of a black hole with contamination, everything else that can be found that will be there. So it's a good idea, I think, to negotiate with the contractor that got it and try and sort it out as easily or as cheaply as we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Bryce.
Yeah, I note that there's been an increase in material and labour costs that seems to be going across with all projects across our LGA and all over the place. So it's only understandable that we accept a contract variation.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Rick.
I find it a very disappointing report. This has taken 5 years to get to this point. And yes, I accept we've had increased cost in materials, and that plays a part. Yet the planning did not take into consideration the floodplain issues, nor did it take into consideration the contamination of soils. So in that respect, I am disappointed. I will support it because the staff need to be working out of containers. We need this facility, but I think we need to really be looking at how we manage these projects moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Marnie.
I'll just speak to two matters on this. My concern also revolves around contaminated lands. I actually asked for the contaminated lands policy to be brought back to the council for review because of the potential exposure, particularly for individual residents when they look at doing constructions on those lands. Having a former gasworks site on there is a red flag for that in my mind. And it will continue to be an issue for the early industrial landscape of Lithgow when people are looking to redevelop it. Addition, obviously, I appreciate that stormwater retention or detention, I'm assuming it's a bit of both, are placed as part of this development, particularly given its proximity in the flow line into Lake Pillins and in turn into Farmers Creek. These steps, whilst there might be frustration about they're not being considered adequately, I'm pleased they are forming part of a stormwater management approach to our developments in our city. We need to hold back waters. We need to be able to process waters and release them into our waterways in a much more improved form, and also take the edge off and turn the tap down on some of the flooding out on the outer edges rather than try and make the plug hole bigger all the time. It's this capture of water out on the edges which will assist in that process. So I'm pleased to see that the council depot store is moving forward, so I'll just make those two comments on it.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor O'Connor.
No.
I'll
Thank
put
you.
the motion. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Marnie, are you supporting the motion? Yes, okay, and unanimous, thank you. 10.2.6, installation of NRMA fast charges Bank Street car park. Thank you.
I'll move.
Okay, sorry.
Councillor Bryce.
Yep.
Happy to second.
Seconded, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Bryce.
It's good to see some more electric vehicle chargers rather than just at the Workmen's Club. My only hope is that the ones at the Workmen's Club, one of the NRMA ones is always out of action. So I'm hoping that we get a better use out of the ones out at Bank Street. So I'm pleased to see there's more EV chargers rather than the one at the Workmen's Club.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Marnie.
I'd like to thank the staff for the delivery of this report and the vision it brings forward as far as particularly not only supporting EV vehicles but supporting different stay times from a tourism point of view. We're just over that sort of around that 2-hour mark out of Sydney. We've got it to the other side of the mountains and we want to break before our next destination. It opens up opportunities for some of those Main Street cafes that are in that precinct and to stop and take advantage of what we have on offer. It was nice to run into a couple of contractors on their way to Mudgee, stopping in at one of our cafes to fuel up for themselves. All these little incremental things bring about the changes we're looking for in our tourism sector. So I thank Council for their consideration of this. I hope the partnership with NRMA works well. So I just think it's a positive outcome. Whilst they're not the dominant component in our market sector, where we live, they are certainly increasingly in the urban landscape. So well done to all involved in this.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any other speakers?
Yep.
Councillor Leslie, I think, was just before Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Atham. I'd just like to comment on the submissions. It's pleasing to get so many in. We don't often get as a lot of submissions, but it was good. In particular, I'd like to comment on the council's response to the comment 15 and 16, where it says that, just briefly, some spaces will be lost, but the benefits outweigh this impact. Well, that's true. My comment is that actually I don't even think that the spaces are lost. They're just utilised differently. Now, you might think they're lost, but people would be using these recharging facilities. But because some of them take some time to do it, whilst they're there, around the corner, a cup of coffee in the local shops. So it actually does help. But the other thing, of course, is that citizens in Sydney and further in the Blue Mountains who have vehicles that need these charging, they're looking for facilities like this. They check where they are, and if they discover that they're in Lithgow, then of course, oh, hey presto, let's go to visit Lithgow. So whilst they may use this charger for a bit, they've got all the way here. They will stay and visit other sites in the town. So I think it's a great thing, and it's good to see it. I support it completely.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Anybody else wishing
Yes,
to speak?
thank you.
Councillor Ring.
Question for you, Mayor Stephen, to the administration. At some time in the future, imagine that all the charges will cease to be free and they'll become commercial entities. We're installing this into council community lands. How would that work in the future? Because those changes could come sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Mr Edgecombe will speak to that. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, they are NRMA operated charges, but I'll take that question on notice, seek some advice and come back to the council by way of memo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Edgecombe. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say where the location, it's a perfect location for people travelling through. Anybody that comes up the Bell's line, it's perfect. And if we advertise them properly, you'll get people coming here, I think. Thanks.
Councillor McGee.
Yes, I think they're an integral part of future infrastructure for not only for the LGA, but for other LGAs surrounding us. With the reduction in the improvements to the highway, you're going to see more traffic jams again. And these EVs still have to run their air conditioners and everything like that on their batteries. So you're going to see more people running out of battery by the time they get to Lithgow, even though they're travelling further. So the more of these charge points we can have, the better.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Right of reply, Councillor Bryce. No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. 10.3, enhancing our natural environment, extension of waste services contracts. Could I have a mover, thank you?
Move.
Thank you,
I'll second.
Councillor Bryce.
Regrettably, this has occurred because of changes made by the government. And I accept that it could have adverse impacts on timetabling of the tender process, and I would rather see us with a service than not with a service. So I support the proposal as it's put.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
At the recent waste management meeting, Mr Campbell explained that the changes the government are bringing in, and that it wouldn't for the extension to happen so that we have time to implement these changes. So I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. 10.3.2, tender 02/24, Lake Pillin's car park, pathway and landscape construction works. Have a mover, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Have a
I'll
seconder?
second.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Marnie.
Again, thanks to the staff for the report. Again, it's been a robust tender process. There's some very reputable and highly skilled applicants here. So I think again we've ended up with a very good choice. I obviously, having had a long interest in Lake Pillins, it goes back over the last 25 years from what was a fairly hot, treeless wetland into what it is now, and I acknowledge that many community members along the way have put a lot of their own personal time into making it arrive where it has, and I'm very thankful also to the council for the reinstatement of the boardwalks after the bushfires. It continues to be one of a very high usage recreational area. I have raised concerns and I happen to walk home. I live down that way, and I have spent nights walking through that. I've lived in some pretty interesting neighbourhoods in my life, so it doesn't concern me, but I'm not convinced that from a community safety point of view that lighting up the area and inviting people into a space like this is a safe option. I personally would like to see, if we're going to activate public spaces as night venues, I'd rather see parks like Queen Elizabeth Park get greater focus on that, where those spaces can be used safely and used as part of events. I acknowledge that the Lithgow uses the space and lights up the space. The other thing that people should be aware of, that the site was invested by the community as a opportunity as a wildlife island, both for nocturnal and daytime species. I don't know that we need to occupy every public space during the night. That's my only reservation with it. Aside that, I think the staff have selected a very capable contractor. The majority of the improvements will increase the enjoyment of this space for people, but I unfortunately can't support the lighting component, but will support the project.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Bryce.
Just a question. How many submissions did we receive when this went out to public exhibition?
Mr. Sean Elwood, thank you.
Through yourself, Mayor Statham. This has not gone out to public exhibition. This has only gone out to request for quote.
It says here that it went out for 4 weeks from August to September 2023.
Oh, sorry, and okay, for the initial landscape plans, my apologies.
Yeah.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Also, Ms. Statham, if I just make one comment
Certainly.
in regards to the lighting. Councillor Marnie, the lighting component has been removed from this component of work. The lighting component was excluded from the tender and was a separable portion that was going to be undertaken by another provider that undertakes that work, but it has subsequently been removed as well. And the comments on suitability of passive safety and night safety are taken on board.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood.
Can I continue? Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Bryce.
It's good to see that we're spending money and doing some more work on this asset to Lithgow. It was once a dump. It was, not inhabited. There was no animals. There was no nothing. There's been a lot of work by the community, by the council. So it's good to see that we're going to do further works to enhance it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yes,
Councillor
Stephen. I'm very glad of the company that's been chosen. They did extensive work when I managed Hartley. They did the walking tracks, all of the landscaping works in the village. They've also done considerable amount of work for Blue Mountain City Council. So I think we've chosen, or council staff have chosen, a very competent contractor.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Anybody else wishing to speak? I'll put the motion, or right of reply, Councillor Marnie.
Just one acknowledgement. Like to acknowledge the late George Quinnell and Sue Graves, who were very central to this transformation of this site, and also I'd like to acknowledge Helen Drew and also Trish Kidd, who spent the last bit of a quarter of a century carrying this project forward. And all of that was done with a great sense of community pride and never looking for a commercial return on it. Everything they did for the community. So I just want to acknowledge those people, past and present.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Move it.
10.4, page 46, F&G, 22nd of the 4th, 2023, Internal Audit Charter. Could I have a mover? Thank you.
I'll move it, Mayor Stephen.
Have a seconder, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Ring.
No, look, I think it's a good document. I've only got one point I'd like to make. In the report where it talks illegal, because I like to actually go and check legislation, what is referenced on page 47 or 73 doesn't come into effect until the 1st of July. So at the moment, it's not in the current legislation. It's in the draft legislation.
Councillor Bryce.
No comment.
Anyone else wishing to speak? No? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Goodwin's out of the chambers, so he's unable to vote at the moment. So anyway, the motion is carried. Thank you for the item. 10.4.2, Delivery Program 2022-2026 and Operational Plan 2024 to 2025. Have a mover, thank you.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce and Councillor Ring. Councillor Bryce.
No comment.
Councillor Ring.
Yeah, I've got a lot. Tonight we're being asked to approve the draft operation plan, fees and charges for the public to have their say. Following the 2 information sessions that the council has had with the administration, I fully reviewed all documents, every fee and charge, and submitted a series of questions, some of which I'm still waiting for a response. I'm happy at this point to provide the administration additional time to respond to my concerns before determining if I will support the documentation before us at the June meeting or whether or not I will move amendments. I will, however, like to make some preliminary statements. Fees and charges. I'm not concerned with what other councils charge. I'm concerned about what it actually costs this council to provide services and fee to our community, and that the applications of fees and charges are equitable and that capacity to pay has been properly assessed. I'd just like to point out the questions I sent in relation to fees and charges to the administration were not just about increases. I also questioned decreases, some of which were mistakes by the administration. At the information session, I was not satisfied with response concerning how capacity to pay is determined and the apparent lack of costings that could be tabled for review. We don't know what the cost of providing services or goods such as water, and that's been an ongoing issue for years, are to our consumers, but we still annually increase prices. Increasing or decreasing fees and charges need to reflect the cost of providing the services and a better understanding how we assess capacity to pay. Proposed changes to rate structure. It's still my contention that a fair and equitable distribution of the rate burden was not achieved with implementation of the SRV, nor was due consideration given where the application of the SRV led to extreme outcomes in the amount of rates paid. When I raised the issue of a rate review in February, there were several councillors who reported various aspects of that non. What concerns me is that we push a leap, but our business rates are such that they are a disincentive to business. All councillors are aware of the long-standing dispute between council and Mr Greg Johnson. We were given assurances that would be dealt with by the GM in December last year. Mr Johnson has made numerous representation offers to resolve this matter, but still after 9 months, we are receiving emails in relation to this matter. The rates of Mr Johnson's caravan park increased from $8,000 to $16,000. Yes, we can blame land values, but there's been no report provided showing how a business has the capacity to pay or the adverse impacts this will have on the tourism sector or the provision of low socio-economic housing at the park. Yeah, an increase of $154 a week is a very expensive cup of coffee. This matter needs resolution. And just to point out that to make that payment, you have to generate a considerable amount of revenue to cover it and maintain your existing service level and revenue. The administration have accepted Marangaroo as part of Lithgow and will lower their ad valorem. It's a great result. It's what I pushed in that rate review. But that result will result in increased rates for Lithgow residents. It's interesting given the approach to the special parking rate levy. The levy ceased being used for its approved purpose a long time ago, but the manner in which council has used these funds was for general revenue. When a special rate levy has served its purpose, it is legally required to cease operation. I'm glad we're getting rid of it because it has been a major impost on CBD businesses. For most of those businesses, around $2,000 each in additional cost. So, since it was benefiting Lithgow, why aren't we putting that charge fully onto Lithgow residents like the rates? We're not. We're distributing that cost across all ratepayers. I honestly believe what we should be doing with the decrease in rates for Marangaroo is increasing rates across the board so it's fair and equitable. We are continuing to fail in achieving a fair and equitable outcome for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, thank Mayor Statham. I actually concur with a lot of what Councillor Ring is actually saying, and I want to bring it to the attention of the council and your good self that I note in the report that it's going to have an impact on ratepayers of an increase of $25 per ratepayer in the base rate. So I'm actively advising the community to send in their submissions, and I understand they have to be in by May. I've been actively speaking with the community, and I can confirm that if you increase the rates, what they actually want are projects that are going to improve their lives, make it easier. You know, replacing the pavers. I understand that we have a grant for that, but they're also mentioning benching seating. What they don't want is trips to Victoria.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yes.
Councillor Goodwin.
Yep.
This item acknowledges that the budget and works program for the next year have been very carefully developed. There are very large programs of work, including roads, playgrounds, new footpaths, sewer relining, pumping station upgrades. There are also more than 600,000 of developer contributions to be spent on the local infrastructure. I'm also pleased that the special rate variation has provided considerable more capacity to deliver more services for the community. This will be the case year on year as we go forward. The work on enhancing our overall rating policy also continues with a historical issue with Marangaroo that's been addressed. The Council will also continue an ambiguous program of efficiencies and cost saving to ensure a balanced budget. This budget forecasts that the Council will meet all key financial performance benchmarks. Clearly, this budget encapsulates all of the benefits from this Council, having walked up to historical challenges of inadequate funds to deliver the services that this community wants and deserves. We're criticised by some, but we have shown leadership. Now the people of this great city are benefiting every day. I note that some councillors have been briefed in information sessions about the fees and charges. I'm very comfortable that the council and its administration have had genuine regards for the impact of any costs increased on ratepayers, with cost increase generally being minimal. Also note that the report acknowledges that while generally the fees and charges have increased by inflation, some items have actually decreased by more because of the cost of those particular items that has risen much more than inflation. I'm told an example of this is the cost of chemicals and the use of water treatment, for chemicals for the water treatment. In other cases, benchmarking has established that our fees and charges are much lower in surrounding councils. In summary, and on the basis of this, I support this going out to exhibition for the fees and charges.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Marnie?
Just want to acknowledge up front that the change process we need, I've accepted, it may not be widely accepted in the community, that it is going to be a mix of people, a mix of projects planned and plans, and the change we need can't go without each of those components. So I accept that there will be staff put into the structure, and those staff will add value to this process going forward. Also, acknowledge some of the projects, and you may have missed my interest, but I do have an interest in water services. That investment, both in the smoke testing, I hope will occur. I wasn't in a position to talk to this in the operations committee, but I hope that it takes a focus on where grey water is also entering streams and into our fishing areas and beyond. Also, for the very high volume of sewage outfall, that while lots of people are asleep on Saturday morning, may be a little bit obsessive, but I was out there looking at how our systems were functioning. Very large sewage outflow onto a children's playground in East Mort Street. Now again, I was unable to raise that in the operations committee because it was deemed to be outside the interests of reflux valves, which are essentially a response to an unmanaged or failing system. So I hope that these projects will continue. I also hope that we can look at water supply into Portland. I've had a number of residents come to me about water loss northwest Portland. I'm happy to provide some detail to you, Mr. Trapp. There's also considerable active transport projects going on in here, which is fantastic. I do pick up on what Councillor Ring has spoken to. I think these are the challenges that we need to address. We can't keep transferring costs to small business in Main Street retail. There isn't the capacity to keep dipping any further into the jar. Equally, I note the specific case that Councillor Ring spoke to in regard to the caravan park. In lieu of a housing strategy, there are many people filling the gap for low income housing, temporary housing, low cost housing. It's important that that person doesn't make a decision, and that should be part of our consideration of that housing strategy when we do finally arrive in the next term. It continues to be a major disappointment to me, given I brought it up very early in my first term at council, only have it voted against by the councillors who are aware of those that voted against an information session, which I found amazing. Having worked in the public sector for 30 years, that a council would vote against information. And they can look it up. They voted against a public forum on housing needs and an information session. We did, however, and I congratulate the General Manager, that he proceeded, regardless of the Council's will, to bring an information session to us because we needed to be informed. So I think we've got to make our decisions strategically, and we need to look at these issues that Councillor Ring has also raised. And however, I'm happy to bring the thing forward, but and put it out to public exhibition. And I hope that the community take that opportunity to have that conversation with us about their future needs.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Leslie.
Thank you, Ms. Nathan. I'd like to just ask a question about something on page 51 at the bottom, near the bottom of the page 51. In strategies and factors to help deliver a balanced budget. I'll read out the bit I want. The draft budget allows for 1.4 million of expected savings resulting from delays in filling vacant roles. In addition, recruitment will be paused for six long-term vacancies, saving a further 418,000 for 24-25. I add that up to be 1.8 million. So my question is this a genuine saving, or will it result in cost shifting to more expensive overtime or contractors?
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Mr Gurney will speak to that. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, the council has experienced issues with recruitment for a couple of years with the current employment market. They are real savings that are expected. It does put pressure on positions, and it's on current staff, and it is acknowledged it's not a sustainable strategy. It's simply the reality of the current employment market. In some cases, yes, there are contractors engaged instead, but this is the amount of savings that we expect regardless of that situation.
So the 1.8 million is an inflated estimate then?
Through you, Mayor Statham, it's not inflated, it's what's expected, balancing out how much we may need to engage contractors for some of the roles to ensure that we maintain service delivery.
Thank you, Mr Gurney. Councillor Bryce, right of reply. Oh, Councillor O'Connor?
Yes, I think it's a great report and I'm very happy to see it go to exhibition. The only thing I want to say, we just got berated by Councillor Mahoney over housing, but when a perfectly good subdivision, compliant, came up in Marangaroo, he was one of the ones that voted for it, with the rest of them over there, against it. So don't lecture us. We supported everything that came up. And that's why we haven't been to the Land and Environment Court or looked like going to the Land and Environment Court. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor.
I'll be giving a response to that.
No discussion across the room, thank you. A right of reply, Councillor Bryce.
Yep, just a couple of things, like we've talked about the trip to Victoria as part of our training and our development. It comes out of that budget, but, we don't mention Alba, which is for one person to attend a year and very little return back to the council, so that's all I've got to say.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. I'll call the division on this as well, thank you. So, Councillor Leslie, are you in or you're out? I can't see your hand. So, for the motion is, well, first of all, the motion is carried. Could I have a division, please? All those in favour say Bryce, Goodwin, O'Connor, McGee, Ring and Coleman, and Marnie and Statham. Thank you. And against? Councillor Leslie? Thank you. The motion is carried. 10.4.3, expressions of interest for Women's Advisory Group.
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Have a seconder, thank you.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. A big congratulations to Christina Portler, the Community Development Officer, by putting this together. The report's great. It's important to champion this particular committee. It gives women a voice, an opportunity to engage with the council about issues that matter to them. And it's irrelevant that regional councils do or do not have a women's advisory group. It's what's important is that Lithgow City Council does, and I'm very pleased to see this report, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Bryce.
I'm glad to see that we have got some new members because this committee was going nowhere. We seem to be focused for the first 2 years of me being on that committee is on the International Women's Day, and that was it. So hopefully now we can start focusing on actual issues that women are facing within our community. International Women's Day is not an issue that is what our women are facing. We need to be more focused on the issues, not on just having a celebration, which is important, but not important enough for this committee to be concerned about.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Anyone else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Statham. This particular committee was always meant to be focusing on women's issues. In the last term, that's what its sole purpose was. The Women's Advisory Group that I chaired in the last term solely focused on women's issues. As for International Women's Day, that wasn't its focus, but I'm glad that we're moving back to where its focus should be.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. 10.4.4 expressions of interest for the Youth Council.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce.
I'll second.
There you go.
No.
Who's seconding that, please? Councillor Marnie. Councillor Bryce.
I'm happy to support this, the Youth Council. There's some names there that are familiar to me, so happy for it to go ahead and good to see some new faces.
Thank Councillor Marnie.
It's always very pleasing to me to see young people coming into the decision-making forums. My generation are often responsible for decisions going into the future, but won't live through the realisation of those decisions. These young people will, and we need to take a bit of time and use both our ears to listen carefully to what their concerns are for the future, because they will live through the decisions we make.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Ring.
I have no problem with the appointments of this or the previous committees. I do have a question though. There's only about 4 months left to all the committees will be dissolved. They only survive the term of the council. By filling these vacancies now, we're risking losing people when we have to re-advertise in the new council. That's my concern. And I'm just like to know if not the administration has a view on it, if they've considered it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Mr General Manager, thank you.
The council resolved to establish these committees, so I think they should be occupied as long as they can. Yeah, certainly a committee always has to transcend a council, but this council hasn't been one that's thrown community reps off those wantonly. So I think community reps on these committees can transcend a council, but of course that's the next council's decision. But these are important issues.
Thank you.
General Manager. Any other questions? Any other people wanting to vote? Right of reply, Councillor Bryce.
The other thing I want to note is that recently Lithgow City Council was part of a youth forum down at the Union Theatre. The stuff that came out of there from the youth of our city was amazing. It just shows how resilient our town is, and they'll be resilient through our youth. Thanks.
So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. Page 62, 10.4.5, Investment Report, March 2024.
Move it.
Councillor Ring and Councillor Leslie. Councillor Ring.
No, it's a straightforward report. No need for discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Sorry, Councillor Leslie. Anybody else wishing to speak? If there's no dissent, I'll put the motion. Councillor, yes. Yep. No dissent, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Carried, thank you. Yes. Page 65, Council Committee Reports. We have 11.1, the TALC minutes of the 4th of April. Could I have a mover? Thank you.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. A seconder, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Leslie.
No, I don't need to speak to it.
Councillor Bright?
No thanks.
I'll put the motion then if there's no dissent. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Audit Risk Improvement Committee, ARIC, the minutes of the 12th of March 2024.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Have a seconder, thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Ring.
I do have a couple of questions, if I may, for you, Mayor Statham, to the administration. Is it possible for the administration to provide council a report on the community service improvement project detailed on page 7 of 13?
Mr Gurney's attention to that now.
No, well,
Councillor
I've got a couple more questions, so if I could, I'd just let him answer that one.
Sorry, which page of the minutes? I'm just pulling.
It's page 7 of 13 of the minutes.
Is that the customer service review?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no issue with providing a report to council.
Okay, so we don't need a notice of motion or anything, or would you prefer one?
No, I'll just make a note of that and
No,
prepare a
thank
report.
you. On page 8 of 13, it discusses proposed 50% increase in the audit fee. Can you advise what that looks like in terms of dollars? And will it come with a guarantee that we'll have the work undertaken in a timely manner?
Through you, Mayor Statham. The audit fee has increased to around about $86,000 this year. It is a point of contention. The joint organisation is raising it because it obviously affects councils throughout the state, and we're a member of the Central New South Wales Joint Organisation. It's being included in their submission on council financial sustainability in New South Wales that there's an inquiry sent to commence. We have an audit engagement plan with the auditors. There are no guarantees that they will not provide and can't really provide guarantees that they will complete on time. However, we have a plan to lodge before the end of October, which is the deadline.
No doubt they've got a plan to just with their fee on time. My third question, if I may, Mr. Statham, is if councillors could be briefed in relation to page 9 of 13, the committee asked about the reference risk of equipment borrowed or stolen without permission. Responsibility for the storage has been transferred to finance. Improvements have been put into place following recent stock takes. If we could get an update on that, either the finance committee or the operations committee, that would be greatly appreciated.
Through you, Mayor Statham, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Gurney.
all I've got. Thank you.
Councillor Ring. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Marnie.
Just a question for you, Mayor, to the staff. If an independent individual councillor wants to raise an issue directly with the chair for consideration in the next agenda, is that permissible?
Through you, Mayor Statham, that is permissible. I'll pass on to you the contact details of the chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gurney.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney and Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Ring.
No, just put it, please, Mayor.
Put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous. Thank you. 11.3, Sports Advisory Committee Minutes, the 10th of April 2024.
I'll move this.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Councillor Goodwin, thank you.
Again, a greatly attended committee meeting by the community sporting bodies. And we accepted some new memberships. We donated some money towards Taj Jenkins's participating college basketball competition in the USA. And so there was some good things going out of there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Goodwin.
No, I'm right. Thanks, Mayor Statham.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor.
I have a question, if I may. At the previous council meeting, there was a sports committee report. And that stated there was $600 left in the allocation. Is that still the case? The report only says there's 2,500, but at the last meeting, we had discussion because I asked if there were going to be any additional. I just want to confirm that there's money left, that's all.
Through you, Mr. Statham, we will provide advice by way of a memo.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? No? Councillor Bryce? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. 11.4, draft Seven Valleys Tourism Committee meeting, the 26th of March 2024.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Councillor Bryce?
Again, this is well attended. We had a presentation for Destination Action Plan presentation by the Destination Marketing Store, which was quite informative. And again, the committee was presented with the mountain bike project that's happening at State Mine Gully. There was a presentation to the whole committee. We've also had a presentation at council and also at the committee meeting, National Parks added their bit, what they're contributing to it. So a very good meeting again.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Ring?
No, nothing.
Anyone else wishing to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Unanimous, thank you. The General Manager would like to speak to the Operations Committee meeting of the 16th of April 2024.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, I've provided a memo which is on each councillor's desk for this evening's meeting. At a point in a meeting, in this Operations Committee meeting, 3 councillors left. So at that point, we didn't have a quorum. And so the final item, which related to town signage, wasn't able to be taken as a decision. When I looked at the minutes tonight, I've offered an alternate construct which Ms Newton can put on the screen if someone was of a mind to move those minutes. But fundamentally, they note those matters which the council just received information on, and then they specifically call out the actions that the committee took when it had a quorum, and they exclude any decisions about the town signage.
I'm happy to
Thank
move.
you, Mr General Manager.
I'm happy to move what you've provided to the councillors if it could be put up on the screen.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Anyone else? Thank you, Councillor McGee. Any other persons want to speak, would like to speak? Councillor Ring, right of reply? He's a mover.
I'd like to speak
Sorry,
first.
yes. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Could I speak first?
Thank you, Councillor Ring.
Look, I'm happy that the General Manager put that up. I'm more than satisfied with it. I'm still not happy with the reflux valves. We left for a reason. I'm happy that that's it. I'm happy with what's been put forward. I'm happy that we vote on it.
Have a second to thank you, Councillor McGee.
Yes, it's good to see that the reflux valve processes will be beginning and underway to get some help to these people. It's a very good outcome.
Perhaps think that there might be a slight error there, Councillor McGee, because I think the reflux valve was... Is it? Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I thought we'd dealt with that before. All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Right of reply, Councillor Ring.
No, I'd like to speak, thank you.
Councillor Marnie.
I just want to speak to the issue surrounding the reflux valves. I didn't support this, not because I don't support the role that the reflux valves play. I didn't support it because the cost of a failed council system is being transferred to a private resident who at no fault has arrived in the position they have. Costs exceeding the $750 shouldn't be borne by the resident. At no point are they at fault in this matter. It could be argued that when stormwater connections are placed into sewers, that a deliberate and action has been taken by the current owner or a previous owner. So this is why I am not supporting this. I'm also uncomfortable with the way the committee was run, and that was why I left. And if I see a causal problem that affects the volume of impact on the community from raw sewage entering their neighbourhood, their parks, their streams, I'd like to be able to talk to that risk in the operations committee. I think anyone that's known me over the last 25 years, my style is not, as sometimes described in this room, grandstanding or even attempting to derail things, but I will not be taken for a mug. I may be an agreeable and a polite individual, but if I think a matter isn't being adequately dealt with and I'm unable to present it to the governance body, which is the elected representatives of this community, not the staff, the councillors. If there's limiting factors that have come into the way we communicate with our community, I will speak against that, and I won't support this recommendation because I do not think it is adequate to the response that we need to be taking to, at no fault, community members.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yes,
Councillor O'Connor?
thanks, Mayor. The reflux valves are not the only action being taken by council. We are doing sewer lining, smoke testing, and everything else.
Excuse me, Councillor Marnie, thank you. Councillor O'Connor is speaking.
So, as far as Matt Trapp told me the other night, because they had smoke tested and probably people fixed them, we didn't have the flooding over after that, getting that 80 mil of rain. There was a lot less complaints where the relining of the sewer had happened. So it comes down to the fact that old sewer lines are up and down. Once the relining is done, there'll be no need for anything. It'll go straight through.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Leslie?
Thank you, Ms. Statham. Yeah, I can't support this either. We didn't get answers to the questions, what if there's 201 houses? We didn't get answers to the questions whether you need to do a whole precinct, and if you don't do the whole precinct at once, then does the problem therefore go to someone in the precinct that doesn't put in a reflux valve? We didn't get any of those answers. We did ask about smoke testing, but our chairman ruled that out of order as being not part of the decision making, and so we just.
Point of order, Mayor Statham.
What is your point of order, Councillor
I did
Dee?
not rule smoke testing out of order. I ordered out of order the non-relevant conversation that Councillor Marnie brought up when we were discussing this topic of the reflux valves exactly, and it did not involve smoke testing.
Because you stopped me from talking.
Excuse me.
Well, I am.
I think Councillor McGee's the chairman of the. Oh, we got to get yes.
I'll get a point of order.
I'm going to find that very hard to rule on because I haven't got the minutes in front of me to start off with. So refrain from speaking anyone across the room. Thank you. I'm asking you to respect that once and once only. Thank you. So Councillor Leslie, you were speaking.
Well, smoke testing was a very important aspect of that meeting, and I didn't get sufficient answers to be able to proceed on it. The matter does need to be properly considered. I didn't get answers to those other matters I raised. I thought the committee meeting was not satisfactory. It's hard to make decisions when you go to meetings that are so poorly chaired.
I'll call a point of order on that. Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Please sit up and please apologise. The meeting was run in accordance to what is required. So please apologise to whoever is the chair. Thank you.
Certainly, Madam Mayor, if you believe that the meeting was well run, then I accept your decision.
Thank you. Moving on, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak that hasn't already spoken?
Right of reply, thank you.
Right of reply, thank you, Councillor Ring.
Good. I moved this, we'll talk about the reflux. I don't agree with what was done with the reflux valves. I moved this purely and simply because this reflects what was moved and debated at the meeting. As for the reflux valves, we'll wait and see. There may in fact be a rescission motion for the next council meeting. We will get the answers one way or the other.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Carried, thank you. I'll call the division on this as well, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Goodwin, O'Connor, McGee, Coleman and Ring. Thank you. And Statham, thank you. Against? Councillor Leslie and Councillor Marnie. Thank you. The item was carried, thank you. Business of great urgency. Is there any councillor that has a business of great urgency this evening?
I have an item I'd like to raise, Mayor.
Councillor Goodwin had his hand up first. Councillor Ring.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Goodwin, your business of great urgency, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Statham, if you consider this, I hope you will, that the signs on our entry and exits to our LGAs are in a terrible state. We had a meeting, but because of some councillors walking out, we couldn't.
The two councillors on the end, I did say I'm not putting up with any rot anymore.
I'm going to call a point of order.
Councillor, excuse me, I'm speaking, Councillor Ring.
I just called a point of order.
I don't care.
No, I've called a point of order. You'll listen to it.
Councillor Marnie and Councillor Leslie, refrain from speaking and respect the talker, whoever that is. Councillor Ring, I'll deal with your point of order.
Good. There were 3 councillors that walked out of that meeting because of your conduct and the conduct of Councillor McGee. Now, I wasn't going to go into it, but when we raise questions, asked questions by the administration, we give honest answers. The debacle that followed was disgusting. This is not urgent business. This is a farce.
I beg your pardon, you apologise as well. I'll apologise to Councillor Goodwin, not to me. I didn't bring it up.
Oh, I'm sorry that I called it a farce.
So let Councillor Goodwin please explain his matter of great urgency, because I have not heard it. So I'm going to rule, Councillor, your point of order I'm not accepting. Thank you. Councillor Goodwin, now please return to what you were speaking about. Thank you.
So I'm talking about the signs, the entry and exit signs to Lithgow, and I was going to put up a motion if it's accepted that in recognition, and it reads like this, in recognition of the need to improve the appearance and the sense of arrival to Lithgow, Portland and Wang, the council resolved to immediately commence progress of design of a new entrance signage. The administration ensure that the appropriate public consultation is undertaken for signage concepts. The design concepts to be returned to council for approval, and this initial work to design signs and concepts be funded from the local roads and community infrastructure program.
I totally rule it as a matter of urgency, and I don't particularly care about what design it is, as long as we start looking after the entrances to and out of our eastern, western in particular, and northern boundaries. And Councillor, Mr Gurney would like to speak on the funding. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Statham, just to advise Council that the local roads and community infrastructure grant cannot be used for design. We would need to find another funding source.
Thank you, Mr Gurney.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, certainly.
Given it's coming out of the roads program, how are we travelling on fixing potholes?
Councillor Marnie, we're speaking on one subject, not two at the moment. Councillor Goodwin, I will accept your matter of great urgency, and then it'll be up to the council staff or a funding body to provide funding for the for finding the right signs to our local government area. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I ask, do you intend to follow the rules as pointed out on page 73 of the business paper in regards to business of great urgency? You never have in the past, but I was wondering if you were planning to do it today.
Point of order. Come on.
You know, Councillor Marnie, I won't even ask what your point of order is. Councillor Leslie, it's going to be voted on now.
Can I read it? The business proposed to be brought forward. A business is passed to have the business transacted at the meetings. A motion is passed to have the business transact the meetings. That has never occurred. That hasn't occurred. And then the business proposed to be brought forward is ruled by the chairperson to be of great urgency. That has never occurred. There it is.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Councillor
Point A
Marnie,
and point B.
You had a question. Thank you.
Point A and point B. It's never occurred.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Councillor Marnie, did you have a question? All those in favour of the business of great urgency, thank you. All those in favour of business of great urgency? Against?
Call a division.
Call a division. All those in favour of business of great urgency for getting design work done for an appropriate signs for our towns and villages? Councillor Bryce, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor McGee and Councillor Statham. Thank you. Carried. Thank you.
Against, Mayor, you've got
Against? Yes, against we'll have Coleman, Ring, Leslie and Councillor Marnie. Thank you. Thank you for attending our council meeting tonight.
Point of order. All of that motion was to debate the motion. We haven't actually put the motion.
I just put the motion.
Point of order. Can we have no yelling? Can we bring down his voice?
Point A and point B.
Stop immediately. Thank you.
Point of order, Mayor. You've put the motion.
That is
now
correct.
you have to put the motion that has to be debated.
Absolutely, it does.
I
So
wish to
Councillor
speak to the
Leslie-
motion. I haven't even had the opportunity
Well, you will,
to do
Councillor
so.
Leslie. Just one
You're about to
moment,
close
thank
the
you.
meeting.
Councillor,
Can we lower our voices, please?
Councillor Goodwin, would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Statham, this is a matter, obviously, when everyone drives through Lithgow, they see those signs and they're in absolute poor state of design at the moment. We need new ones. This is a perfect opportunity to do it. We had the perfect opportunity at the operations meeting. We couldn't do it then, so I'm raising it now as a matter of great urgency. I think it's a part of civic pride to have at least start the debate, start to have a look at what we can do in relation to signs and not just kick the tin again down the road for another meeting. So I think we can just start the process off now or it'll take forever.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to speak if I can.
Yes, certainly, Councillor
I'd like to
Leslie.
support this motion. It's not an urgent motion. It could have been done elsewhere, but it's now been ruled to be urgent, and it's here. We have many artists and designers in Lithgow. They should be asked, to supply copy, to supply drawings, to supply positions. I haven't had a chance to actually consider this properly, but artists and designers in Lithgow need to be considered. At the moment, they've been totally ignored. The whole process hasn't been there, and now it gives me the opportunity, on the video, to ask those artists and designers around Lithgow to wait for this consultation to come forward so that they can put in their own views and thoughts. It's important that we involve these people. Up until now, they've just been ignored, as the whole process is just going to be done elsewhere. But now we have the opportunity, which is why I'm happy to support it. It would have been better to have it as a notice of motion where we could consider it properly, but this is what we get in this council, so we have to cope with what we get.
Thank you, Councillor Leslie. Councillor Bryce.
The signs.
Yeah. Mine is.
Thank you. Councillor
Okay.
Price.
Okay, so the last lot of designs for our roads, our entrances to our villages and our towns were disgraceful. They were small, they deteriorated, they are really an embarrassment to our town. If anyone sees the one out at Cullenbullen, you're flat out seeing that it's Cullenbullen on the sign. It's terrible. So I would like to see signs that are resilient, low maintenance, but able to visually last a long time.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Councillor Coleman.
I have a question. It regards point 2. It says conduct public expedition. How long will that take? When does it go out? Someone across the chamber's making fun of me. That's okay. Point of order over there, but we won't go there. And so I'd like to know how long that will take. That's the only question I have.
I have no idea, so you will get a memo about that. Thank you, Councillor Coleman.
Question, if I may, Mayor Stephen, just to confirm, there is no funding for the design. That is what Mr. Gurney said, was it not?
Through you, Mayor Statham, the proposed funding, the funding source proposed by Councillor Goodwin, the design work would not be eligible. So the council administration, as part of the memo and advice to councillors, would need to try to identify a funding source.
Okay, thank you. So we possibly have to take the money from another project.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor.
Yes, I want to support Councillor Leslie's ideas of bringing in artists and do a design. It costs nothing to do a design. They can come up with their, to start with, a bit of a drawing, concept, and see where it goes from there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor McGee, thank you.
Yes, I applaud this. The urgency is undoubtable, and I think that going out to public tender and allowing all artists and people with this sort of ability to submit ideas will just be fantastic, you know, so we can evaluate all of those. I'd imagine it's going to be for around 28 days. You know, that gives people a fantastic opportunity to put in their submissions, and I think we'll come up with something really good out of this. It's very positive.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yes,
Right,
Mayor
reply.
Stephen.
Councillor Marnie.
I'm happy to accept that signs have got to the end of their useful life. I appreciate that staff have looked at ways of extending that. I do take note of what Councillor Leslie has mentioned, that we need to be engaging businesses in the design, and arts is a business. It's not a thing that's always done as a hobby. There's many people who make their livelihood out of landscape design and a whole lot of other design elements as well as artists. I think the opportunity to spend our money in our community, in our businesses, needs to be a key consideration of this. I'm happy if there's a process where there's access to that, as there has been to reconstructing a bridge, as there has been to redeveloping open space. I think it's important that we put this out to allow maximum participation of businesses, and particularly those businesses in the arts.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, certainly.
Is it the intention to pay local artists? Should they be selected as something?
I can answer that. The design is, we're not expecting this to be done pro bono. If someone steps forward and offers designs pro bono at no fee and that rises to the top, well, that'll be a decision for council. But typically with any project, you have a design component. It's a subordinate part of the larger cost of the actual project. But we'll provide all this detail in a memorandum to the councillors.
I might just ask one question, if permissible, Councillor Goodwin. Would you please add a point to your matter of great urgency to say that it was required for anybody living in our local government area to put in designs? We're not going to be paying artists from out of our area. And I think that's very fair. We've got a lot of talented painters and artists here. I think it should be remaining in our town, whoever does this work. I don't mind who does the work as long as we get new signs.
Could I ask another question?
Yes, certainly.
Do we pay architects and designers for bridges who live outside our local government area?
I don't think this is related to that, Councillor Leslie. This is a completely different notice of motion, business of great urgency. Councillor Goodwin, are you okay to accept that? Yes, all right. The General Manager will make a comment on that.
I should just comment because it would be my belief that that would probably not comply with competition laws, Madam Mayor. Certainly we can have policies which bias and give a particular value or score to a local supplier, but we can't exclude external suppliers and like that. The locals will certainly be encouraged and invited to participate in the process.
Thank you, I'm delighted to hear that. So, right of reply, Councillor Goodwin.
No, that's my submission, Mayor Statham.
Matters of great urgency, thank you, have been accepted, and Councillor Goodwin, I'll put it to the vote, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Councillor Ring. So I'll call the division on that, thank you. All those in favour of the matter of great urgency is Bryce, Goodwin, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor McGee, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Coleman. Against is Councillor Leslie.
Councillor Ring.
Sorry, Councillor Ring, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Councillor Leslie, I do apologise for that. Councillor Ring, so the matter of great urgency has been carried, thank you. And against?
No, nothing.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting, everyone, and thank you for the public